Nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen, or N using its scientific abbreviation, is a colorless, odorless element. Nitrogen is the most abundant element in our atmosphere. It is crucial to life. Nitrogen is found in soil and plants, in the water we drink, and in the air we breathe. It is essential to life. We are generally under the impression that we only need oxygen to live. There is a laundry of elements that animals need for survival. One such element is nitrogen. But we cannot just get nitrogen from the air. It needs to be converted to nitrates via a process called nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen in the atmosphere falls to the earth by precipitation such as rain or snow. Once in the soil, it finds its way to bacteria on the roots of plants. The air we breathe contains 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and the other remaining are the other gases. The nitrogen components of air is inert, so this means plants and animals cannot use it directly. To be able to use nitrogen, plants convert atmospheric nitrogen to nitrates, and ammonia compounds by a process called nitrogen cycle. Why is nitrogen important? Nitrogen is important for all living things. It is component in DNA, proteins, and chlorophyll in plants. Disrupting nitrogen cycle can lead to imbalance in ecosystem. For example, cells with too much nitrogen can become acidic. Increased nitrogen in aquatic system can lead to eutrophication. Farmers may add fertilizers containing nitrogen to their crops to increase crop growth. Without nitrogen fertilization, scientists estimate that we would use up one-third of the crops we rely on for food and other types of agriculture. But we need to know how much nitrogen is necessary for plant growth because too much can pollute waterway, hurting aquatic life. During the process of ammonification, the bacteria helps degrade decomposing animals and plant matter. This helps in naturally cleaning up the environment.
I'm Trina Shinla Rosa and I will discuss why nitrogen is key to life. Nitrogen, our environment's most abundant element. It's required for life to exist. Nitrogen can be found in soils and plants, as well as water and air. It is also necessary for life because it is a key building block of DNA which determines our genetics. It is also necessary for plant growth and thus for the food we eat. Nitrogen is an important component of the nucleic acid DNA and RNA, which are the most important biological molecules. When there is a lack of nitrogen, plant growth suffers. In extreme cases, plants with extremely high nitrogen levels absorbed from soils can poison farm animals.
So let's proceed to eutrophications. What is eutrophication and can it be prevented? Eutrophication po ay pagkakaroon ng excessive richness of nutrient in a lake o sa iba pang bodies of waters. It happens when too much nitrogen enriches the water. Ang eutrophication po ay hindi maganda para sa mga nabubuhay in water kasi pwede itong mag-cause ng kakulangan ng oxygen sa kanila and pwedeng magdulot ng kanilang pagkamatay. Two things na tinutukoy ko po is yung mga isda sa lake. Too much nitrogen can even cause lake to turn bright green or color with a bloom of smiley algae na tinatawag natin na phytoplankton. Kung makikita po natin dito yung lake po is sa figure po yung lake po is kulay green, and yan po ay nangyayari pag ang isang bodies of water rich in nitrogen and other nutrients that polluting the water, which has lead to increase phytoplankton and algae blooms. So dahil po dito, ang isang bodies of water ay nagiging kulay green at iba pang posibleng kulay ng isang kung napapasyal po kayo sa mga probinsya, yung ganitong kulay na green na water is tinatawag namin na lumot. And matuturing nga po namin itong panganib para sa mga isda dahil posibleng magkaroon ng kakulangan sa oxygens para sila ay mag-exist. And ito po ay nangyayari lamang sa mga fresh water like river and lake. So let's proceed to the figure 2. Kung makikita po natin dyan yung figure 2, these are the stage of eutrophications. So first is yung excess of nutrients and off in the soil ground. So makikita po natin sa figure na yan, dahil nga po sa labis na nutrients in the soil and ground, ito po ay pumupunta sa ilalim ng lupa. And then the excess nutrients po ay pumupunta sa tubig, and this was the stage 2 na kung saan nga po ang ibang nutrients is become dissolved in water and leak into deeper soil layers. So let's move on to the stage 3. Dito po yung nutrient from other ground is directly run into the water. Next po natin yung stage 4 na kung saan the extra nutrients cause algae to bloom. So yan na po yung nakikita natin green sa tubig. And the stage 5. Dito po yung sinag ng araw is nahaharang patungo sa ilalim ng tubig dahil sa lumot na ito. And next is yung stage 6. Dito po dahil sa pagharang ng algae o lumot patungo sa ilalim ng tubig para masikatan ng araw yung plants under the water, is posibleng bumagal yung pag-grow o kaya posibleng mamatay yung plant. Next stage po is stage 7. Dito po yung algae or yung lumot is namamatay. Then nahuhulog po ito sa ilalim ng tubig. Then the bacteria is begin to decompose or break off the remains and use of oxygen in the process. So in this last stage po, which is yung stage 8, the decomposition process is nagiging dahilan ng pagkakulang ng oxygen sa isang tubig. And pwede ito pong mag-cause ng pagkamatay ng mga isda sa tubig sa kadahilanan nga po ng pagkakulangan ng oxygen sa tubig. Dahil dito tinawag itong dead zones dahil sa pagkamatay ng mga living things dito. And this was named eutrophications. So in this last part po of these eutrophications, meron po ditong tanong na kung saan ang eutrophication ba daw po is kayang ma-prevent. Ang sagot po dito is yes, kayang ma-prevent ang eutrophications. Some people who manage water resources can use different strategies para ma-reduce the harmful effect of algae blooms and eutrophication of water surface. Madalas po sa mga ginagawa nila, they can reroute excess nutrients from lakes and vulnerable coastal zones. Gumagamit po sila ng mga herbicides na kung saan pinapatay nito yung mga di kabilang na halaman sa ilalim ng tubig. Algicides po, gumagamit sila para patayin naman yung mga algae. At yung iba pang paraan is yung sa water ng mga managers ay gumagamit sila ng mga organisms that eat phytoplankton, and these organisms can help to reduce the amounts of phytoplankton by eating them.
The nitrogen cycle is a repeating cycle of processes during which nitrogen moves through both living and non-living things. In the atmosphere, nitrogen exists as a gas, but in the soil, it exists as nitrogen oxide and nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen gas exists in both organic and inorganic forms. Organic nitrogen exists in living organisms and they get passed through the food chain by the consumptions of the other living organism. Inorganic forms of nitrogen are found in abundance in the atmosphere. This nitrogen is made available to plants by symbiotic bacteria which can convert the inert nitrogen into a usable form such as nitrites and nitrates. And also, nitrogen cycle consists of 5 stages, namely fixation, nitrification, assimilation, ammonification, denitrification. These 5 stages will be explained in the next reporter.
Nitrogen is one of the most essential elements ng ating planeta. Binubuo nito ang napakalaking porsyon ng ating atmosphere na kung saan 78% nito ay nitrogen at iba pang elements. Ang unang parte ng ating nitrogen cycle ay ang nitrogen fixation. Dahil nga hindi kayang i-consume ng plants ang nitrogen sa gaseous state dahil nga it is toxic, kailangan itong mag-transform as it enters the soil. It's essential to all life forms because nitrogen is required for biosynthesis, the basic building blocks of plants, animals, and other life forms, especially the RNA, DNA, and nucleic acid.
As the nitrogen is getting delivered from the atmosphere, the lightning will also deliver the energy that is needed to make the combination of nitrogen and other elements to make it more consumable to plants. The nitrogen will be combined with oxygen to make a nitrogen oxide and hydrogen to make ammonia that will be consumable and able to consume by plants. There's also a natural process where the nitrogen will enter into the soil and the soil will be eaten by that bacteria, and that bacteria are called diazotropes. These diazotropes will fix the nitrogen compounds to make it more consumable to plants that will help the plants to do biosynthesis for building blocks of RNA, DNA, and nucleic acids.
Nitrification. Nitrification is the process that converts ammonia to nitrate. After the fixation process, which fixation converts the nitrogen to a form usable by plants and converts it to ammonium. The nitrification process converts the ammonium to nitrate via bacteria. So after nga nung fixation process, 'di ba, na-convert na yung ammonium, then dito na papasok si nitrification process, which yung bacteria doon sa nitrification process, i-convert niya si ammonium to nitrate. Nitrification is a two-step process in which NH3 or NH4 plus is converted to NO3. NH3 o NH4 plus is ammonium din. Nag-iba lang yung name pero ammonium din yung ibig sabihin nila. Then, si NO3, siya din, ibig sabihin niya ay nitrate. Nag-iba lang din yung name. So, ayun, two-step process siya na kino-convert niya yung ammonium to nitrate. Ngayon naman babanggitin ko yung mga soil bacteria, which is yung mga bacteria na nag-convert kay ammonia at nitrate. At ito ay sila Nitrosomonas at Nitrococcus. Si Nitrosomonas at Nitrococcus, kino-convert nila si NH3, which is ammonia, to NO2. Si NO2, nitrate pa rin siya. Dito sa nitrification process, nagaganap yung ammonia to nitrate to nitrate. Yung huling nitrate ay si NO3. Yan. After nung conversion nila na Nitrosomonas at Nitrococcus, dito naman papasok yung isa pang soil bacteria, which is si Nitrobacter. Si Nitrobacter, ino-oxidize niya si NO2 to NO3. Doon na yung nagaganap yung nitrification process. At sila yung mga bacteria na nagko-convert to ammonia to nitrate to nitrate.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Laborde, and I'm here to discuss assimilation and ammonification process. Let's begin. The third process of nitrogen cycle is called assimilation. Assimilation is the process of absorbing where the nitrates from the soil are absorbed by the roots of plants to make their own amino acids to produce proteins which are needed to photosynthetic activity. By then, animals are able to utilize nitrogen from plant tissues that they have eaten. But once the plants get insufficient amount of nitrogen, their leaves turn into yellow and they will not grow. If this is happen, it will have a negative effect not only for the animals but also for the farmers as it is resulting low harvest. Now let's move on in the fourth process called ammonification. This happens when an organism that assimilates nitrogen from the plant's excreted waste or dies. The nitrogen from its tissues, including protein, amino acids, and nucleic acids. By then, the bacteria such as fungi and prokaryotes will decompose the tissue and release organic nitrogen. The process of converting organic nitrogen into ammonia through the action of bacteria is called ammonification. The ammonia produced by this process is excreted into the environment and is then available for either nitrification or assimilation.
Hello everyone, I'm Desiree Enoch and I'm here to discuss the fifth stage of the nitrogen cycle, and that's what we call denitrification. Denitrification is the process in which the nitrogen compounds make its way back into the atmosphere by converting nitrates into gaseous nitrogen. Denitrification is carried out by denitrifying bacteria species like Clostridium and Pseudomonas. This is the final stage and occurs in the absence of oxygen. So, why nitrogen is crucial to our everyday lives? The cycling of nitrogen through the ecosystem is crucial for maintaining productive and healthy ecosystem, with neither too much nor too little nitrogen. Plant production and biomass or living material are limited by the availability of nitrogen. Understanding how the plant soil nitrogen cycle works can help us make better decisions about what crops to grow and where to grow them. So, we have an adequate supply of food. Knowledge of the nitrogen cycle can also help us reduce pollution caused by adding too much fertilizer to soils. Certain plants can uptake more nitrogen or other nutrients such as phosphorus, another fertilizer, and can even be used as buffer or filter to prevent excessive fertilizer from entering waterways. As you have seen, not enough nitrogen in the soils leaves plants hungry, while too much of a good thing can be bad. Excess nitrogen can poison plants and even livestock. Pollution of our water sources by surplus nitrogen and other nutrients is a huge problem, as marine life is being suffocated from the composition of dead algae blooms. Farmers and communities need to work to improve the uptake of added nutrients by crops and treat animal manure waste properly. We also need to protect the natural plant's buffer zone that can take up nitrogen runoff before it reaches water bodies. But our current patterns of clearing trees to build roads and other construction worsen this problem because there are fewer plants to uptake excess nutrients. We need to do further research to determine which plant species are best to grow in coastal areas to take up excess nitrogen. We also need to find other ways to fix or avoid the problem of excess nitrogen that's spilling into aquatic ecosystem. By working toward a more complete understanding of the nitrogen cycle and other cycles at play in Earth's interconnected natural system, we can better understand how to better protect Earth's precious natural resources.